Say, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Warzone and tell you thank you for taking the time out to tune in to me. Because without you guys, I would not have a show. Let me set these privacy settings real quick, and then we ready to go. Yeah, I want to thank you guys. Some nights I go a little off, but that's okay. You falling in love with me, and I don't speak nothing but the truth. And some nights it's a hard truth for you to digest. But tonight, man, I got a legend on this program tonight, man. Y'all think that I'm just something else when I go to city council or go to school board meetings. But I'm gonna tell you something, man. They got a man down in Flint, Michigan, that don't play no games when it comes to these political figures and representing his community. And I got him here tonight. My man, Council Member Eric Mays is in the building. How you doing, Council Member?
All right, what's happening? What's happening?
Oh, not much, man. I do what the people tell me, and the people down this way, they love you. They love your spirit. They love everything you represent. And we believe that a politician that has no backbone should not be a politician. And I've been watching you and watching you. And a lot of people tell me every day that I remind them of you. And I'm like, well, I'm in good company because I thought some days I was doing it wrong, but I really probably wasn't doing it wrong. Do me a favor, give the people a little bit of your background, and then we'll jump into this interview.
Okay, I'll be 65 in September. I come out of Michigan State University. I was in the dorm with Magic Johnson back in the day in college. I was a walk-on wide receiver, played a little football. I didn't get no action up at Michigan State. I got a political science degree from up there. And, I worked for General Motors and the United Auto Workers for 30 years here in Flint, Michigan. I was elected recording secretary, union rep. When I first got out of college, I was also elected in Flint as the third vice president, Flint branch of the NAACP, the political action chair. I was on the executive board of the NAACP in Flint when I was 20-some years old. I was assigned to attend council meetings, see what's going on, report back. We dealt with police brutality issues, so forth and so on. I retired from General Motors and I think about 2008, and then I won office as a Flint City Councilman in November 2013. I'm in my 10th year. I don't have another election for another 4 years. I've seen 3 mayors come and go. I've seen 3 sets of council folk come and go, and I represent about 9,000 Black folks on the far north end of Flint. Flint is about 70% Black. And, I'm fighting for a rough side of town to make sure we get resources, millions of dollars allocated, policy affected and changed. And so here we are.
Well, a lot of people, they can't make the adjustment to people like me and you. We show up and we represent our communities to the best of our abilities. And some days that conversation has to be a come to Jesus conversation. It has to be. We can't get around it. What do you have to say to the people that have a problem with your delivery when you're sitting in council?
Well, what's happening, somebody, I don't know what their intent was, but they made clips, the best of Eric Mays over a 10-year period of time, what I say, what I do, how I fight, verbal communications, and, they put them together. And whether their intent was for entertainment value, educational value, whether it was to try to portray me negatively, whatever they did, it then backfired. We people looking at us on what's this, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. People calling me to do podcasts from around the country. I'm getting calls from all across the country, New York, Chicago, Florida, Ohio, Mississippi, Alabama. And so as a council person with my head down, doing the business of the city of Flint in my small little district, something is going on. And people are looking at me and they're calling me with tons of support, millions of views. And so whatever is going on and whatever people think, I think the moral to this story is be yourself, fight for the people, be honest. And if you're honest and true, you don't have to watch your back. You know, don't break the rules. Live within the rules. When you live within the rules, you can truly exercise your freedom of speech. You don't let people define who you are. If you catch somebody, black or white, trying to characterize who you are, call them out. You know, tell them who they is and put them in their place. Don't let people walk all over you, because in politics, you know, people don't want no weak politician. They want somebody who can stand up for them as well as themselves.
Okay. Well, we got an interactive show, so I'm going to put up a question if you can see it.
All right.
And it's from one of my devoted viewers, Rontrell Bradford. He say, what is Councilman Mays doing about the water in Flint, Michigan?
When the water crisis hit, that's because we got the 5 Great Lakes up here in Michigan surrounding us: Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Michigan, so forth and so on. Fresh water. And, you know, the water crisis was a result of what we call an emergency manager. That's somebody the governor sent in to take over the responsibilities of the mayor and city council. And they want to draw water out of a river. And the Flint River, because of General Motors, was more toxic than the Great Lakes. And then when they drew the water out, they didn't treat it properly, and it was coming through the faucets in houses yellow and contaminated and wasn't treated properly. And I was the council person at the time of that switch. And so I put a motion on the floor to go back to the Great Lakes source. We had been teamed up with Detroit, Michigan, which is about 60 miles away, using that water. And at first, folks wouldn't listen. And so we declared an emergency and got the attention of local government, state government, and even at the time, Barack Obama. He flew into Flint. And we was able to get them to switch back to properly treated water and not the river water, but they had damaged the pipes. So we got millions of dollars to change those pipes on the outside, but not on the inside of houses. And people start passing out filters. So we still have some water issues. We still have to fix that. But, you know, we had to come up with a strategy to buck against the powers that be as it relates to that initial switch and going back. And I looked in the law books, and as a state law, it said tornadoes, hurricanes, and water contamination. When I seen water contamination, I knew that we could use that political strategy to declare an emergency and try to get stuff under control. And so that's political strategy helped us get national attention and resources to kind of, you know, fix that. And so we're still in the process of fixing it. But that's a short, brief scenario for the purposes of this show as to what happened in the Flint water crisis, sir.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I know down here, I've labeled my politicians. I've labeled them a certain way because they're not worth 2 plug nickels some days. And that's 98% of them, whether they Republican or Democrat. And I actually call them funky
black
draws.
or white in some cases too.
Exactly. I call them funky draws politicians because they ain't worth
the draws politician.
Yeah. What is a handkerchief head negro?
A handkerchief head Negro, you can Google it. Google the term handkerchief head Negro. It's in the Urban Dictionary. That's like a Uncle Tom. That's somebody, a Sambo. I don't know how you want to look at it, but that's like a house Negro. They can see other blacks being done wrong, but they want to cater to white folks. They they they'll bend over backwards. They'll turn their back on black folks to cater to white folks to try to be in that club. And so they're doing a disservice to black folks. For example, we've got on our 9-member city council, we've got 5 blacks and 4 whites. And it's 2 of them seem to bend over backwards to cater to the white folks and put them in the position of president and vice and won't team up with the 3 blacks where we could do a better job for black folks in the community. So, Google handkerchief head Negro, understand is somebody who bent over backwards and cater to white folks and will turn their back on you. They might even try to talk proper in some cases. And they ain't the right type of folk for us, in my opinion.
Well, I tell you what, man, I see you doing your thing in city council. You say what's on your mind. And I do that when I go to the local school board meetings. I don't hold back. And one night they decided they would give me a trespassing notice. I had to sue them in federal court. And we ended up winning a $500,000 settlement. And they had to learn the hard way. Yeah, exactly. They had to learn the hard way that you just can't restrict people's speech because you don't like what they saying. As long as
legal proceedings mean something. I had to set up a GoFundMe account, and it's set up now to raise funds, because if you ain't gonna do the legal stuff yourself, you have a right to represent yourself. But this stuff can pile up and get out of hand. You better have a good group of lawyers around you, because they will try to infringe on your rights of freedom of speech. They'll try to infringe upon your rights and freedom of movement. And so I'm glad that you did that and beat them. That's the only way you get them off your back in some cases.
Well, they don't bother me no more, but I still go in and bring that fire. That's what my people expect. And I actually started my own consultation company. So I've been able to represent hundreds of families and kids, and we don't seem to lose because I'm very versed in educational law.
Was now, you born down there in Texas?
I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. I'm a graduate of Jackie A. Senior High School.
Okay.
Same school George Floyd went to. Just graduated 6 years after me. So in government, especially city government, we have the same problem here. And I don't know if it's as bad in Flint as it may be here. There's a lot of corruption. And I mean, it's running rampant. Why do you think there's so much corruption at the city government level?
Well, in a lot of levels of government, the corruption, one of the things that breeds corruption is self-centered politicians. See, in this political arena, you can do a lot of things to better yourself, but that ain't really what the goal is. The goal is to make your legacy become a legend for helping people, helping large groups of people. But some people get in government and they'll see all the opportunities to help themselves, financially. And that's what breeds the corruption, that selfishness and greed to help yourself more so than trying to make a legacy and get a reputation for helping people. The Lord didn't bless us all with the same brain capacity. And so until you get pure people and enough of them, you're going to have that corruption because people are self-centered and they chasing fame for themselves and that small group around them. They're not really looking at the bigger picture of helping large groups of people. And, that breeds corruption. That self-centered type of mentality.
But I ran for school board twice. I didn't win, but I told my folk I'm gonna keep running until I get some. Me and you had a talk. Tell these people how many times you ran before you actually got elected.
For city government, probably about 14 times.
14 times. And my question to you is, and I think a lot of people want to know, after running 13 times, why didn't you stop?
Because I know how important it was to get in there. It's easier to get attention and make change from sometime the inside. You can do it from the outside. During that 13 time run or that 14 time run, I continued to show up at meetings, raising hell and getting sometime arrested and throughout. But once I got in there, I was a little naive. I didn't know you would run into some of the same problems of self-centered people, people trying to shut you up, people trying to take away your constitutional freedoms of speech and movement. And so here we are. But what made me keep going is I wanted to test it out. I wanted to try it from the inside.
And once you got in, you've been in there for 10 years, am I right?
Yeah, this is the 10th year, and I've got 4 more years before I have to run again.
Now, I know me when
I've
I first
seen
started.
council people come and go. You know, some of them that don't get it and act right, they didn't get voted back in. The beauty of it is you might not think it, but people can see it. And once the people see it and define who you are, you know, that's how you get your votes.
Yeah, that what I was going to ask you is when I first started, I got a lot of pushback, and I mainly got the pushback from African Americans who were telling me, "Man, you're not representing us right." I say, "Well, I dress nice. I mean, I'm very educated. I just don't play games, and when I get frustrated with the games, I'm gonna give you the business." Did you get a lot of pushback from your community when you first got in there, and they figured out who Eric Mays really was?
Well, you're gonna always, you know, have people who want you to walk on water, part the Red Sea, be perfect, but it's gonna be no perfect man. You know, I'm a Christian and I was brought up in the Baptist church. My dad was my pastor for over 27 years, and I always tell people, I ain't gonna walk on water, part the Red Sea. I might fuss and cuss. I don't think no person is gonna be perfect, but when I first won, I won by 6 votes. They had to have a recount. When I got in there and proved myself and answered my phone and returned calls and took care of people's problems, the next time against that same opponent, I won by about 800 votes. And so, you know, you still, after 10 years, you get some pushback from some folks that just don't get it. But in elections, you only need 51%. You don't have to have 100% of support. You don't have to have 90% of support. The beauty of it, if the majority of the people support you, let them others push back. Their arms gonna get tired and they gonna fall by the wayside. Roll with the majority. And the majority of the people, in my opinion, are honest, they smart, and they can see stuff, and they know.
Down here right now, we got an elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is our school district. The Houston Independent School District has been corrupt for a long time. And now the state of Texas is ready to come in and they're ready to take over the school district. How important is it, and especially in an African American district like yours and like mine, is it to have decent schools compared to not having decent schools?
Well, the children are our future. You know, we had to have people stand up and fight for us when we were little, because in a minute, time go by so fast. I can remember being 20, 30, 40. Now I'm 65. I can remember being 5, 6, 8, 10 years old. And the way the system is set up, children that can't organize and fight for certain quality of life and educational issues as grown folks. We have a duty and a responsibility to fight and deal with the school board on behalf of our children who are our future. I mean, that's just common sense. Grown folks is running the school board. Some of them don't have the best interests of our children. They just out for a paycheck. Remember, a lot of folks in these positions and in key positions are self-centered. And so what we have to do as grown folks, we have to fight for our children.
Who's worse, the black politician or the white politician behind them closed doors? I got my opinion.
Well, we know white folk ain't always supported us. We didn't even have the right to vote under this white capitalistic system. So when you find black folk, handkerchief head Negroes who still don't get it as it relates to our fight, in some cases, they can be the worst if you can't call them out and spot them out and get them to act right. We're only powerful in numbers when we stick together.
And you know what? When we call them out, you and me and people like us, when we call them out, we normally get these phone calls from what I call these professional Negroes that Malcolm warned us about. You know, Malcolm told us that they look like us, they dress like us, but they ain't of us. So, you know, we always get these calls. Why don't you back off of Mayor Turner? I'm not backing off of nobody. I'm not backing off of nobody. If you want me to back off, then it's simple. Go in the back room, get my tax money, and don't make me pay taxes no more. Then I ain't got to say nothing.
Or some of these people who they say we need to back off from, I think the solution is they need to straighten up and fly right and ask for forgiveness for what they've already done wrong.
Now, we have city council people that have to run for office down here this year. They'll run in November. And some of them have been invisible. I mean, you don't see them. You don't see the work being done. Nothing. What type of council member are you? Are you very involved with your community? Do you get out not just to take pictures and meet the people? I know you roll your sleeves up, but what type of council member are you? Because I got some watching right now that needs some insight.
Well, you better be conscious of staying on the ground in the off season. People are smart. If they only see you during election time, they'll tell you, they'll ask you where you've been. Now, a politician or a council person or elected official, you're not going to go knock doors. In some cases, maybe you can year round. You do probably, do that more during election time. But one of the best ways to stay available is this technology and cell phones, town hall meetings in the middle of elections and on the off season. I put my cell phone number out there. I do 3-way calls, conference calls. Right now, I'm talking to you from Flint to Houston. So you can stay visible and continue doing the work without just, knocking doors. You go to church, you go to the store, you just stay out there. You communicate and interact with people, not just at election time, but all year round. An invisible person ain't gonna get elected. When it come election time, you're gonna hear people say, where have you been? And if the opponent is smart and they exploit that, them people might have won, but they're not going to stay in there any length of time. They're going to be gone. Poof, you gone.
National government. It looks like, people wanted a change from Trump. They decided Biden.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me? We lost sound.
No, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Try it again.
All right, you can hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's lower. I had a
Okay.
call come in. That's probably why.
That's
But
what it is.
yeah, it's 9. I clock my time. I had about a half an hour, and then I got something coming up. We had to do it again now.
Oh, no issues. Well, I'll make this the last question. This is the last question for you. National government seems to be in a crisis, an all-time and an all-high crisis. What advice could you give the president of the United States as it pertains to, making the quality of life better for Black people?
Well, when you look at how some of these national leaders operate, if they come into your hometown and you really understand the structure of government, the first thing they do is run to the mayors, the governors. They never deal so much with the school board members, the city council, or whatever, and they missing the boat. If you look at the president of the United States, he kissing the butt of the Senate, he kissing the butt of the House of Representatives because he need them to do stuff in order to get it to him. But when they come to our cities, they run to the mayors, the governors. They don't deal with the legislative branch as much as they should. And so it's a misunderstanding from folks in the position of president in some cases of how to connect with the local legislator. A council person, a school board member, they like the legislature. The superintendent of schools is like the mayor, the governor. And so if I was president, I'm going to empower both the legislative branch and the local branch of government, the executive branch. As I move around throughout the country, I'm going to treat them folks just like I treat the folks in Washington, if you understand what I'm saying. And so if a president did that and understood that concept locally, I think they'd be doing the country a great service.
Well, I tell you what, man, I know you got another interview to do, but you're welcome to come back anytime you get ready, my brother. And if you're still fighting that court case, let me know. I'll come down there and support you.
Okay, holla at me. Holla at me. We in touch. Hey, Houston. Hey, everybody around the country. God bless us all. Councilman Mays. Point of order. Holla back.
All right, my friend. Okay, let me see. That's my new friend, Councilman Eric Mays from Flint, Michigan. So all of y'all that think some days that old Monroe be doing it wrong, according to Eric Mays, I'm actually doing it right. You should not vote anybody in the office that does not have a backbone, that's not willing to stand up for you. Nobody. If they're not going to go to war for our communities, they should not be in office at all. That goes for the mayor, that goes for city council, that goes for the school board, House of Representatives, the whole 9 yards, state reps. If they are not going to fight for us, whatever community you live in, Black, white, Republican, Democrat, then there's no reason that they should be in office. And I'm just telling you how I feel. It is what it is. I don't care who gets upset. But Gary Monroe's not going to change because Eric Mays told me in a private conversation don't change. So I know I'm not doing it wrong. I know I'm not doing it wrong. And he gave me what I needed. You handkerchief head Negroes, get ready because all I do is recharge. Every day I just recharge the battery and I keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm not going to hold y'all tonight. It's going to be short and sweet. It's spring break, but I got homework and I got to keep doing it. We'll make sure that we continue to bring you good guests, informative guests, that people that y'all want to hear and see, and people that you can interact with. But I will remind you that the new album that I did, The Best Kept Secret in Texas, you can now pre-order that album. The actual release date is next it's on the 20th, March 20th. The album is released on March 20th. I've already started writing the new album that I'm going to put out after that one. I just had to do this one because I got so sick of listening to the type of music that was out there. So I had to give y'all some good music. And if you want a good album, and I think I'm running like 19 songs deep from the front to the back, I'm going to have you to where you can't turn it off. That's all I'm going to tell you. The album comes out next week. You can go to all your streaming platforms. You can buy it, download it, however that go. You know, I'm old school, so I don't know how all this stuff go nowadays. But I am going to donate a portion of whatever that album makes over there to my good friend Ralph Thomas and Jackie H. Lions football team. So I'm gonna take part of the money I make off this album, and I'm gonna give it to them kids, man. Because like the councilman just said, the kids are the future, and if you believe that, then you're gonna invest in them. You feel what I'm saying? You're going to invest in them. Now, on to you handkerchief head Negroes that's sitting out there. And I know a few of you politicians just watch this man, Eric Mays, who has the heart of a lion. When you gonna stand up? When you gonna quit selling us out for nickels and dimes just so that you can live comfortably while the rest of us live in poverty? When are you gonna stand up and do what's right for your people and stop forgetting about us because the people in the past didn't forget about you? You old school cats that's in politics. When are you going to pass the baton? You've had your time. It's time for some of us younger people to get in there and do what needs to be done, because you're trying to handle modern day issues with old Negro spiritual songs that actually don't work. So whether it's the school board, whether it's city council, no matter what the position may be, if these handkerchief head Negroes do not have a backbone, do not vote them into office. And somebody say, can we land Charleston White? I give him a call. Let's see if we can get him on. Say, man, you see how I do it. It's the Warzone. And I'm the 5-star general. Until tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow, I'm going to tell you what I want to talk about. The environmental concerns that our kids, teachers, and administrators are facing every single day on the school campuses in HISD. The carbon monoxide is a joke, and it's at a point where our children are in danger. The schools are full of asbestos, they're full of mold, all of this. And tomorrow night, I'm going to expose you for all that it's worth. If you don't give a damn about something, you ain't never give a damn about nothing. And I'm going to put it out there tomorrow night. So Millard, tell Max Mall to get ready. He gonna need some help on this one, because a whole bunch of these schools should be shut down the rest of the year based on the fact that you are actually poisoning our children on a daily basis. Until tomorrow night, I'll holler at you.